Hi, today I'll be talking about why I prefer Mavic 2 Pro over Mavic Air for professional work. Let's talk about it. Okay, so the number one reason, of course, is Mavic 2 Pro is better built than Mavic Air. Now, if you compare the two, you can see that Mavic Air is made of, I feel anyway, like a cheap plastic compared to Mavic 2 Pro, which feels like the plastic is definitely better built, and it feels like it's more solid. And if you compare the size, of course, is Mavic 2 Pro is definitely bigger than Mavic Air, and this is the advantage, of course, of Mavic Air. But because of the size, it gives that stability in this Mavic 2 Pro. So that's the number one. It's quite well built. Number two, of course, because of its well built design in Mavic 2, it is able to resist wind. So when you have a very high wind, like 40, 50, even 60 kilometers an hour, Mavic Air will shake in midair. You can see it shaking, and it also show up in the video footage. So when you're flying, you gotta make sure that it's not a windy day. Whereas Mavic 2 Pro, it can resist even up to 50, 60 kilometers per hour wind without any issue, because the motor is pretty strong, pretty big, and the propeller, you can see, is quite big as well. Just overall, it's very stable in midair. It's comparable to Phantom 4 Pro 2, which I'll discuss next time. And the gimbal, of course, I feel that in some way, I think Mavic Air is slightly better because it's protected. But the gimbal on the Mavic 2, even though it's not as well protected as the Mavic Air, it feels like, and it seems like, that it's more stable. The 3-axis gimbal, I think, is able to handle more shake compared to Mavic Air. Now, number three, the one reason I would choose Mavic 2 over Mavic Air anytime for professional work is that it's able to fly very far. I did the test. Now, I didn't stretch out how far it can fly maximum in the maximum range, but the Mavic 2, when I tried flying in an open field, I could get at least 2 kilometers easily. I didn't go further than that, but 2 kilometers was where I kind of stopped, because I was afraid that if I go further, I might lose this drone, and the battery was starting to run low. Now, you compare that to Mavic Air. I noticed that Mavic Air can only reach about 500 meters, and there's start to show signal of like weak signal, and it feels like it's unstable, so I had to bring it back. So if you compare the two in terms of flying range, Mavic 2 is 3 to 4 times able to fly further than Mavic Air, which is awesome. So this is why this would be better for flying professionally. Number 4, you'll find out that Mavic 2, even though it's big and large propeller, it is less noisy for some reason. I feel that when I'm flying, the humming of Mavic 2 Pro actually is not irritating like Mavic Air. I find Mavic Air, the high frequency buzzing sound is actually kind of irritating, and it's quite loud because of the higher frequency, and it's distracting to the bystanders. So when you're flying, let's say, very close to people, this will actually attract people and bystanders. So I wouldn't recommend it if you're flying in a crowded area. Okay, this would be better because it's actually, even though it does make noise, but the humming is a lower frequency, and I feel like it's not as noisy. And so even though it's big, it's still not distracting. So that's number 4 reason. And lastly, number 5 reason is that, as you can see, Mavic 2 Pro have a better camera. It's a 1-inch sensor camera compared to Mavic Air, which is 1 over 2.3 inch. Now, when you're flying during daytime, the quality and the difference is not that much, because in the daytime you actually have to reduce the aperture because the light is so bright, and you might have to even put a filter on both of them. So there's not much advantage if you're flying during daylight. In fact, I would prefer the quality on Mavic Air. If it wasn't for the distance, I would have used this for flying. But because of the long distance range of this Mavic 2, I would bring down the aperture and fly with this drone. But the quality, the image quality during daytime is pretty much the same. If not, Mavic Air is slightly better because you don't require too much manipulation of the color, whereas Mavic 2 Pro with 10-bit 422, you might need to color grade a bit, but which is great because you can do more of that color grading with this drone, which is what this is for, a professional work. So now the advantage, of course, is that it's because it has 1-inch sensor, it's better for low light situation like evening and night. So if you ever want to fly in the evening or night scenes, then Mavic 2 Pro definitely is the winner. And so these are the top 5 reasons why I picked Mavic 2 Pro over Mavic Air. That wraps up my comparison of Mavic Air versus Mavic 2 Pro. As you can see, for professional work, Mavic 2 Pro is definitely a winner. Next time I will compare Mavic 2 Pro to my Phantom 4 Pro V2, and you'll see what is the benefit of having that drone versus this one here. So have a look at the video that I made with this Mavic 2 Pro. It's a 4K video in my area, so enjoy. Thanks for watching EducateTube.com.